Good morning, everybody. This is Rivalry Week Takeover brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Texas Homer, joined with Paul Wadlington. We're going to break down the Texas A&M Aggies. But first, I want you to head over to Inside Texas. $1 for your first week for those new members. We'd love to meet you and see you over there. Awesome board. And then, of course, incredible team news, recruiting, analysis, all of that as we gear up for the final game of the regular season. Paul is in Thanksgiving mode and is on a tighter schedule than usual. So we are going to be efficient today and get right into the A&M part. Even though I know you guys were dying to hear about his Arkansas thoughts, but you know where you can find that? Inside Texas. You can read all of his postmortems and see exactly what he thinks. But we're going to go straight in to A&M. Paul, I think a quick thing that we can do just up front, we were just talking about it, is strength of schedule. A lot of the stuff is A&M has a weak strength of schedule. Well, relative to the SEC, sure. But a weak SEC schedule is still like top 30 in the country. So that's first things first. And I think they're actually right now with ELS, they are 28th and Texas is 17th. With 12 games, that's the difference in like a game.
And I know the game.
Yeah, Georgia, right? And then so that's about the difference. So it's a little bit of cope with the A&M hasn't played anybody, but also you don't play entire teams. You play sides of the ball. So when you're looking at if a team is legitimate, if I look over here, I rank all of A&M's opponents in DFEI. They've faced 5 top 20 defenses and they've scored 30 plus on all but one. So the A&M offense has been tested and proven against better defenses than us a few times. And then the offensive side for who they face is where they're weaker. They've only faced 2 top 20, 2 top 25 offenses, and both of those offenses got to 40. I think there was a defensive score or a special team score, but the defense for Texas A&M is less proven. And so that's a factor. So I just want to get out of this before we're in the chat that these stats don't matter. A&M hasn't played anybody. That's just simply not correct, especially when you're looking at both sides of the ball.
So Weston Carl's asked was Missouri the best D statistically that A&M has faced this season? No, it would actually, I think they're 4th. I think it's Auburn, Notre Dame, and LSU.
Yep.
Now, what you have to factor into that is who was trying, when did you play them? Mm-hmm. Notre Dame's defense is a little bit broken schematically early in the year. It seems like they righted the ship. Riding the ship also coincided with playing a bunch of Boston colleges, right? Mm-hmm. But I think Auburn's been pretty good on D all year, except for Diego Pavia lighting them up. So, yeah, actually, Missouri's to reinforce Connor's point. I concur. I think A&M's proven on offense, and you can see it when you watch the film. Their defense. Really, really good in one specific area that's very important. Otherwise, very gettable, particularly for big plays. Also helps if you can run the ball, which we
can't
yet, Connor, yet.
Well, we do pop up once every 3 or 4 games for a big run game, so we're due.
And by big run game, you mean we average 4.3 yards per carry.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah,
we have one game. We have one Power 5 game where we averaged over 4 yards per carry, and it was Ohio State. A&M has only one game all season, including everyone where they went under 4, and it was South Carolina, and that first half looked horrific. So, it's a different thing. All right, we'll be quick, Paul, for your sake.
Hey, I want to congratulate you on maintaining the burnt orange and also finding a proper maroon. Good job.
Yes, you're welcome. I did search the hex for A&M to make sure it was the correct one. All right, A&M's overall offense is 11th in the country in points per game. They are 11th in yards per play. They are 18th in points per drive, 23rd in success rate, a little bit weaker, slightly above average in explosiveness. And then their havoc rates are solid with a little bit of a bump down for interceptions from havoc rate for DBs. But this offense is more built on consistency. We think of explosiveness with speed receivers and that kind of stuff. And I think over a third, when I tallied it up, not counting tight ends or running backs, over a third of Marcel Reed's yards are yak from his receivers.
Yes.
So we'll talk about Marcel Reed in the context of Marcel Reed. That'll be an important thing because He's not really what's making this thing go, in my opinion, but he has some skills. But just think of consistency, and seeing Colin Klein's offense with some good players has been cool. I always liked his offenses at Kansas State, but they've been sound and able to move the ball fairly consistently, and that's going to be a big factor.
Huge credit to their O-line combined with speed outside. If you have that combination, if you have a good, reliable O-line, particularly a pass blocking O-line, which A&M has, they're better at pass blocking than run blocking. And then you have elite speed outside that scares people, like terrifies people. Your quarterback just has to make the throws, like,
Yep.
and not even very hard throws. So
Right.
that lack of havoc on the Texas A&M offense is kind of the way we were going to talk about the A&M defense in a bit, talking about third downs as their superpower. Their offensive line and that threat of the speed outside, keeping people honest, is what prevents people from getting havoc on their offense, meaning tackles for loss, inflicting turnovers, etc. When A&M does have a turnover, it's Marcel Reed losing his mind.
Yep.
That's basically it.
Yep.
So,
well, what's funny is a lot of A&M fans think Marcel's the reason for their success. I would say he's a little bit of a governor on the offense. Like if you had, like he's actually kind of holding the offense back, and that's what I think is interesting.
If you think of Diego Pavia as the catalyst for everything Vanderbilt does, Marcel Reed is a catalyst, but also the governor, right?
Yep.
And the difference is, can you get him to his second read? Can you get him to his third read? If you can get him to his second and third reads, he's the governor on the offense, right?
Yep.
If he's operating comfortably and kind of feeling it, and his first guy's breaking open, he looks real good. And I tell you what, if you get obsessed about their speed outside, their screen game, and then their downhill run game, he'll keep it around the edge for a quick 30. I mean, one thing I will say, I've had multiple people tell me, and the first guy who told me is Will Gallagher, our buddy from inside Texas, elite photographer. You should go check him out at Gallagher Studios. He was saying at field level last year, he was like, I don't know how fast Marcel Reed looks on TV. He's like, that's one of the quickest dudes I've ever seen at field level. So, he's got legit athleticism and tools. It's just, if you can have guys show up in spots he doesn't expect and you bring pressure on him, particularly a certain type of pressure, which we can get into, he will give you the football.
Do you know what beating A&M looks like? It looks like Marcel Reed just bouncing up and down and patting the ball. And that's where he's at his second and third reads.
And flushing left.
Yeah, well, and his mechanics aren't sound.
Yeah.
And so that's why you'll see the completion and the accuracy issue with Marcel, because and there's a couple plays per game where he actually does make some really nice throws, but he can't consistently do that because he's not sound mechanically. And if he could just work on that, getting better at that, he'd be much more deadly. But yeah, scanning full field offense, not getting his easy in breaker with a wide open fast receiver breaking inside, those kind of things will cause him to not have a good game. So that's what's going on with their offense, though. A lot of credit here to Colin Klein. The offense is really efficient. It's smart. It takes advantage of their strengths and their leverages. And it's not like this profound thing. It's not like, when I watch it, it's not like Bobo or Vandy. It's very kind of Big 12-ian, a lot of in breakers, a lot of stuff coming into your vision, a lot of crossers that can beat zone and man, a lot of just built-in answers with really, really good, talented receivers with speed. And like someone pointed out, it's a yak offense. It's not Reed consistently dropping dimes here. It's dumping off easy stuff to open receivers that continue to run on. Let's look at the run game, though.
Let's do it.
All right. So the rushing play success rate is 37th, not elite, but it's good. Yards per rush, 26. Once again, good. And then their yards before contact is 43rd. Their yards after contact is 56th. But they're 111th in missed tackles forced, which is interesting. These are stats I just added this week that I just got a hold of. I'm trying to suss out running back from offensive line run blocking. But you have Le'Veon Moss, who, of course, we all know, but Reuben Owens has been the show, and I think E.J. Smith is their third. So with Moss dealing with injuries, I think you're gonna end up seeing more E.J. Smith. What do you think about their actual rotation there, Paul? Or do you think
so it looks like Moss is out, right?
Yeah, and so you see Ruben and I think EJ Smith at this point.
So I think if you look at their yards per carry, you'll be like, it's same. Who cares? Moss to me is a cut above all their other runners because he can get the hard yards, and he's averaging 3.64 yards after contact.
Yeah,
So
and that's 7th in the SEC.
he's running inside, and he's also good at pressing and then breaking out wide, and that's been our weakness. And if you guys like our analysis and maybe some of the deeper stuff that we do on this channel, you've got to check out our deep dive in our film study coming out today and tomorrow, because I pulled a clip of Arkansas doing that to us multiple times, and it's something that A&M can do with Moss. With him out, Owens has better speed, top end speed. He doesn't have that ruggedness and that tackle breaking ability.
Yep, 18th in yards after contact per attempt. Technically better in yards per attempt by 2 spots, but the dirty yards are significantly worse. He does have the breakaway percentage, 6 in breakaway. So like Paul's saying, if you can get him on the track, he'll score type of thing, but not a dirty runner.
Yeah, and to me, those dirty yards are going to be paramount in this game for A&M because they're going to try to control the ball. They're going to try to use that steady offensive line that just doesn't give up tackles for loss. They're going to try to sit on the ball, control it. And basically with A&M's offense, with their explosiveness, if they get enough plays on the field, Craver's going to break one. Concepcion's going to break one. And it doesn't have to be 80 yards down the sideline, perfect throw. It can be in a 4.5 yard screen or an arrow route. So we've got to get these guys off the field. And Moss not playing in the game is helpful in that regard.
And if you look, Texas D does have the advantage across the board against the A&M rushing offense.
Which Texas D?
Exactly. Well, that's the problem, right? How much of this is early season? But and look, we know Reed can run. Now they're not as reliant on these zone read packages as like Talon Green and like Diego Pavia. Like that's like a strong base quarter of the offense. They're not running that as much, but they're gonna. I would turn the knob up to 10 versus Texas on the zone. One reason is that you're not going to have games for 3 weeks or a month for them in the playoffs. Well, they have the SEC championship, so I'm incorrect there. But my point is you can go kind of all out in this game running wise, and I would turn up the amount of optionality, which they do have in the playbook. It's just not as crazy as other teams we faced. But with our inability to fit that and weak on the boundary side with it, I expect zone run to be a bigger factor too, especially no Moss.
No Moss? Are you tapping?
I knew you were gonna say, but
Roberto Duran over here.
Yeah. Offensive line yards, same thing. They're 47th in average offensive line yards per rush, 52nd in gotta have it, 3rd and 4th in shorts, and then 34th in stuff rate. Texas still holds all the advantages there in the run game. Then we get into the problem where Texas holds no advantages, which is the A&M passing game, which they've been awesome in. And that group of receivers, man, have been killer. And they're not just speed guys. Like these guys can run routes. They can win in 5. They can win on the goal line. Concepcion has really, really nice skill. And they're not scared either. When I look for kind of speedier guys, are they scared over the middle or whatever? Nope, they jump up in front of guys. Like they make catches. So it's not just like what we think of as like pure Texas speed, like don't hit me, but I'm going to run. They're playing receiver. And that's a big factor. And then, of course, Bethel Roman's like coming on a little bit late. I think he has some drop issues, but their third option is still dangerous. And these guys lead. We're just looking at their receivers. Let's see what we're dealing with. Concepcion is number 1 in Rec V, which is PFF's like overall receiver grade. Mario Graver is 2nd. All 3 receivers are top 10 in the SEC in yards after catch per reception. All 3. And then the rest is just kind of yards per route run, their efficiency every time they run a route. You have Concepcion ranking 2nd. You have Craver ranking 1st. And you have, I don't even have yards per route run for Bethel Roman, which means it's not as good. But that level of efficiency from these receivers paired with the scheme that's constantly putting them in easy catches in the middle of the field to go take it up the field, it's a tough thing to handle, Paul.
I agree. Yeah. So for those of you that know, Mario Craver did sit out the Samford game,
Mhm.
a 48-0 blowout. A&M already well indoctrinated to doing the pre-rival soft opponent, so you can get
Yeah.
2 weeks of planning and sit guys if you need to. I think Craver's going to be full go for us. Someone was asking in the chat. I think they just sat him to heal some dings, and they want him 100% against Texas.
Yeah. So the receivers are legitimate ballers, and they're aided by the scheme tremendously. And so they have all these advantages. So passing success rate, they are 17th, 37th in explosivity. Now they're 77th in team completion percentage. That's what I'm telling you. Marcel Reed's not an accurate quarterback. He's not a natural quarterback yet. He's having to learn. But if he can get his mechanics down and you get that up 5 completion points, this offense really unlocks. 7th in yards per pass, 13th in QB sack percentage, 17th in pressure rate, 14th in pass blocking efficiency. They create remarkably sunny conditions for Marcel Reed.
Mm-hmm.
They have a good enough run game that helps there. Easy passes with receivers that do most of the work for him. And then the offensive line does enough. And of course, on that, he's mobile, right? So he can also avoid things. But Marcel Reed is able, because of Colin Klein, to just be in good situations far more often than, say, the Texas offense would be.
Yeah, I mean, for contrasting purposes, Arch Manning is one of the most hit, most pressured quarterbacks in Division I football, in the P4 certainly. Marcel Reed is one of the least. So if you guys want to see what that looks like and what the difference can make, go watch some Arkansas tape and Arch sitting in a nice pocket most of the time, and then go watch the Florida tape when he's getting 2 or 3 guys right up the gut and getting instant pressure. So, they're as Connor said, they create sunny days for their quarterback, and their quarterback gets to go out and play.
Yeah. And credit to them for doing that. People like A&M fans are like, think I'm knocking Marcel Reed for that. I'm like, I'm complimenting your coordinator. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. Like, that's a good OC right there. But you see, they have the advantage across the board versus the Texas pass defense. And this is still including stats from earlier in the season where the pass defense didn't get exposed yet either. Looking at the past 4 weeks, I bet it's far scarier.
You know what's really scary, Connor, is, and again, I hate to plug our other shows, but Ian and I are going to show you this on tape. We have veterans busting in our secondary now.
Yep.
Like, so people were doing the like, oh, when Tav comes back, when Jelani McDonald comes back, we'll be fine. No, it's not that. As we were saying at the time, there's deeper stuff schematically, and we've got to unscrew ourselves. So at the risk of simplicity, we may want to revert to 1 or 2 core coverages where just who you have. Like, that's half the battle for the secondary. But we've got Michael Taft busting. We've got Manny Muhammad busting now. I mean, that's McDonald. I mean, it doesn't – it's broken, and it starts at the scheme level. And so, we're going to be making some offseason changes. There's no doubt. But we've got to make some changes this short week.
Well, I don't even know what you do. Like, because I've thought about that. I'm like, well, do you play a man just so you know who's got who? But all their routes are man beaters. Like, everything's crosser. They're faster than every one of our guys. And so it's like in the middle of the field is where they attack. And that's where we're soft as hell and like giving giant red arrows, like throw here, pre-snap, throw here, pre-snap. So it's like, I don't even know what the true answer is. You're not going to stop the A&M passing offense because the receivers are legit, but like, how do you slow them through disguise? How do you get Reed to hold the ball?
I think you do have to play some man underneath with inside leverage, and then you got to park your 2 safeties deep with their foot on the, their inside foot on the outside of each hash, right between the numbers and the hash, and just don't let them sprint up that sideline, right? When you really cordon off that inside. But Texas has got to stop giving up free passes between the numbers and between the hashes. That's the number one thing to fix for this pass defense. At least make the throw intermediately hard to hard.
Yeah.
We can't allow throws in the field that I can make. If I can make the throw, it's not hard.
Yeah. All right, before we keep going, guys, The holiday season is here, and Academy Sports and Outdoors has the legendary gifts you need at undefeatable prices every day. Shop in store or online at academy.com to save on gifts on everybody's list. From football jerseys and basketball hoops to fire pits and deer stands, the most wonderful time of the year happens here. This Christmas, give the gift of fun from Academy Sports and Outdoors. Lots of good stuff. All right, brother, as we continue our turbo analysis. All right, so A&M is 10th in the country in OFEI. This is opponent adjusted. They have the advantage. Texas is 13th in the country here. And they actually are a little bit more talented than they're performing. So underperforming talent a little bit. And then Texas the same, underperforming talent a little bit. This is where we can start to struggle a little bit. And this is what was bad at the beginning. Not bad, but not elite. Standard downs rate, not a huge difference here, but they're 32nd and putting themselves in good situations, sunny conditions. They're 9th in standard down success rate. Now, this is A&M. They're 93rd in passing down success rate. If you can stop them on first and second and make Reed play quarterback and you know he's throwing and you know where to get guys into windows, A&M's offense looks different. But you have to win on first and second down in those cases.
And that's tied together with their third down conversion percentage, which is same as ours, actually. It's about 41%, 53rd in the country. Got to get A&M in 3rd and 8, and you got to stop them when they're in 3rd and 8 because they really get a much more limited offense at that point. And then that's when you've really got to turn it on. And so, unfortunately, that's where some of our lag has been, right? If you're busting as a defense definitionally, it doesn't really matter what down and distance it is. The bust is the bust, right? It could happen on 1st and 10. It could happen on 3rd and 17. It could happen on 4th and 19. Hint, hint. So that's the bummer to this, but we got to unscrew ourselves. Like, we got to go, man. This is the Aggies. Rivalry still means something. I know it's all about playoffs now and all that stuff. Hey, any year, if you think the year is disappointing, got it. I got you. But any year where you beat your rivals is a good thing. And particularly if you can put an L on the Aggies and prevent an undefeated, perfect regular season.
For sure. Early downs EPA, they're really good here. They're 5th. Texas defense is 43rd. So the matchup does favor them on early downs. We're going to have to figure some way out to ensure that that's not the conditions for them. They are 53rd on third down percentage, above average. But, when you're looking at elite offenses, you want to see that in the top 10. They don't have that. So get them into third down. Average third down distance, fairly good for them. They're 25th in the country. Texas does hold the slight advantage there, which is important. Not awesome in the red zone. And so a lot of this offense is space. It's in breakers with yak to run. They are counting on the expansion of your zone, right? They want your linebackers to drop back and your safeties to drop back. And then here comes the little crosser and they're going to take it for 10. Well, guess what? You don't have that in the red zone. It's condensed. And so they're not as successful there because that's not their play style. So red zone, you should be able to bow up. But the problem is, this is what's horrific, Paul. Texas red zone D, 78th in the country. We used to be top 3, guys, just to let you know the difference here. So A&M, even though they're not great in the red zone, they're above average, but not elite. Texas's defense has been sucking in the red zone, and that's a major problem for us. Sacks allowed, 11th. Like I said, Marcel Reed has been able to avoid that a lot. What does it look like if those sacks do pile on and he gets nervous? Or can we even get to him? Texas is 6th there, slight advantage. We have to see. That's a big key to the game for me.
I think that's been pretty sticky for us all year. So that is one aspect of our team. We talked about in the Vanderbilt game. We were busting coverages in the first quarter because people are like, oh, we fell apart in the 4th. No, we were busting them in the 1st and 2nd, but our pass rush was so withering, Pavia couldn't get to those progressions. So, that's been a constant and a consistent thing for us, which is great. Colin Simmons, a big part of that. But there's other guys that have contributed that a great deal too, right? Trey Moore, Hero Canoe, Ethan Burke. The right side of the Aggie line, the whole Aggie line's at least above average. They don't start any bad players. But the right side, right guard, right tackle, those are the most susceptible guys to speed and elite pass rushing. And none of the A&M backs are good at picking up the blitz. Okay. Part of it is physicality. Part of it is just like knowledge of where to go, how to fit the protection. We've got to take that little cheat and we've got to get instant pressure in Marcel Reed's face. He's a right-handed quarterback. If you get that instant pressure and you can make him drift left against his natural throwing arm to running receivers, right? A&M's receivers don't turn around and stop usually.
Right. They're always going away from you.
You can get him drifting with pressure against his natural throwing arm, right? That's when he throws high. That's when he throws errant balls. That's when the ball just arrives in Michael Tapp's hand and there's no receiver next to him. That's like my little incubator for sacks, turnovers, fumbles, interceptions. That's a very specific slice of the game that if we can attack that over and over, we can have Marcel Reed and Texas A&M give us this game. They will hand us this game if we're able to do that. If we're not able to do that over time, I think that speed is going to wear on us, and I think that indiscipline that we've seen from our secondary is going to get revealed.
And you see, we've talked about the sunny conditions, right? Not a lot of sacks. You have players at every position at every level, and you're still 79th in interceptions. That's a quarterback that doesn't see the field well, and that's a quarterback that gets a little panicky and sometimes is so used to his first read that he'll throw it regardless. So make him uncomfortable, and that's the key. They're good in fumbles per game, and they're first in tackles for loss allowed. So that's also really talented. They've done a really good job there. On that offense. So, and they were 20th in returning production as well. Any final thoughts? Here's my thing. The tight ends aren't like some crazy factor for A&M, but like I said, you need to turn up the read option knob. You better start figuring out some ways too. We're susceptible to slots. We're susceptible to inside pass catchers, but I would in this game plan start turning up a little bit the tight end receiving as well, and doing most of what I can do on the interior. What they're smart about is they force outside receivers into the position of an inside receiver with crossers.
Yes.
So it's a middle of the field game with Texas A&M, but Texas, they bust, and sometimes they bust on pure receiver motions. Don't get me wrong. But what really breaks our defense is motion within the core. It messes with our run fits. It messes the safety. We'll just lose a tight end when you do that. So you can do those kind of cross-field motions where a receiver goes from far to far. That's not necessarily what will break the defense. What breaks the defense is when you have guys lined up near the core moving around, messes with our run fits, messes with everything. So I would add in more of a tight end attack versus Texas.
So when I previewed Arkansas, their tight ends in terms of receptions were pretty far down, their leading receivers. And I made a big point of emphasizing the tight ends in my written preview at Inside Texas and then on our deep dive, right? And people, a couple of people are like, Omega Blake's the guy you got to watch out for. It's like, no, he's irrelevant. He's not playing in the part of the field they're going to attack. Arkansas tight ends were 1 and 2 in receptions against us. 10 catches for 148 yards combined. Multiple, Connor, you saw the clips that I pulled. Multiple, just wide open tight ends down the seam. And if you were physically at the game, you could really see it. And I'm not sure what the TV looked like, but holy cow. It's not a function of Arkansas having these amazing tight ends. It's just that it was available. So we're not arguing that A&M Nystrom is going to have like 7 catches against Texas. Just know that on a couple of key downs, they're going to throw it to a wide open tight end and down the middle. But what Connor's saying is you can get Concepcion or Carver through motion, through some of the ways they run their routes to simulate what the Arkansas tight ends were attacking. The difference is the guy catching it is going to run a 4.3 and not a 4.7.
Cool. Yeah.
Connor's like, whatever.
No, I'm getting a text from Joe about something.
Tell Joe to be quiet.
I know. Joe, be quiet.
Joe is upset because we're doing advanced statistics, and he does not like advanced statistics. He likes old school. How many yards do you average? He likes that.
Like Sports Guy. Texas A&M and Texas have played at Texas 46 times since the year 1893.
In any Thursday after a Jewish holiday, when Texas wears special orange uniforms, they are 17-2 against the spread.
Yeah, the beat guys have such a different brain. It's all about like a historical. I never once have been like, I wonder how many times these guys have played, and I never care.
What's the current series rivalry?
Yeah, exactly. I literally don't even think of it. All right, Texas A&M defense. So this is where I said they might not be as good as they appear for lack of being tested. Now, the caveat that A&M fans have pointed out correctly, not like Texas has an elite offense, so it's like this is more me saying I think A&M will get caught in the playoffs by this. We'll see if Texas is the one to catch them. But Texas, I think, is like 38th as an offense in OFEI, which is, worse than Mizzou, but Mizzou didn't play their quarterback. But that's kind of the thing is like, we'll see if Texas is the one to exploit it, but that's more my point to say, I don't know about when you get into the playoffs, how that looks when they face some really baller offenses. All right, let's look at their defense. Opponent points per game, 48th. Not great. Texas holds the advantage. But then they start to have more matchups. Their time of possession is pretty good. Opponent yards per play, they are 31st. They're 20th in defensive points per drive. They're 6th in defensive success rate. So you'll hear like, man, A&M is really good on third downs. They are. They design cool stuff. They're getting people to third downs. And so that's really the secret sauce. None of this activates if you can't stop people on first and second. And they are stopping people on first and second. And then they're getting them into those third downs. So they're 6th there. This is
Unless
the big,
right?
yeah.
I mean, A&M does give up explosives.
Well, here we go, Paul. I got something for you right here, dude.
Oh,
they're 130th in defensive explosiveness. And they're not sound. Like when you watch their run fits and stuff like that, they're out of gaps a lot. They're very aggressive and attacking and forward. And Sark actually does have a little bit of success with that style. And you've seen it before with them. But we'll talk about if we have the horses to exploit that. But they're not super sound. Like they're kind of overwhelming people. And if you're able to find and sort through that, you can hit a lot of big plays on them. But they're betting you're not going to hit 8 big plays on them. If their offense is putting up 40, they're betting you're not going to get 40 points worth of explosives. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But they're not very sound. They're just athletic and aggressive in a lot of ways.
Well, the interesting thing is you always wonder, is it due to the talent, due to the cards I'm dealt, how we play, our play style? Elko was exactly like this at Duke, and he was exactly like this at Notre Dame. He's just really good on third down.
His design is awesome.
He has great packages. He thinks that ultimately Elko thinks modern defensive football is about third down. And he's probably right?
Yeah.
So he devises and puts all of his energy and effort there. The interesting thing is, even when he was at Duke and like overachieving, kicking ass, their defense would give up big plays. But if they could get you in third down, you were going to punt, right? Or they get a turnover. And it's just interesting because I just remember some Duke games, particularly when they played Clemson before, when Clemson went to hell, started to go to hell. Clemson had a bunch of big runs in the game, but they kept tackling the running back before he got to the end zone. And then they'd end up kicking a field goal or, something like that. And Texas has got to house these things. If we get our opportunity, the problem is we have not been explosive in our running game. And the running game has been the area where A&M has really bled some of those big plays. If even going back to their opener against UTSA and Henry. But the truth is, if you watch, Jack's going to not like this comment. If you watch UTSA's O-line and you look at their running back, their lead running back, they're better than ours.
Yeah, is that Robert Henry?
Yeah, Robert Henry is more explosive than any of our running backs.
I want to poach him, or who's the North Texas back who's balling? I've been scouting G5 backs.
Yeah,
I've been scouting G5 backs, dude. And there's a few in Texas that are like ready to rock.
But like UTSA's offensive line is more physical than our offensive line.
I mean,
now they can't pass block, but I mean they don't recruit them to. So it's an interesting and intriguing thing that A&M does have a couple of these glaring weaknesses on defense. I'm not sure we're well positioned to take advantage of them. So we'll see.
Yeah. Their defensive havoc total is 4th. They've been really good there, especially on their front 7 or 3rd. But their DBs are not. They're 82nd. So not a lot of interceptions, not a lot of that stuff. Now, this is the matchup Paul was discussing. So their defensive rush success rate is 8th. That's good. But their defensive rushing explosivity is 135th, second to last in FBS. What Paul was so wrong about is Texas has the huge advantage here. We're 131st in offensive rushing explosivity.
Let's go.
So you can see, but here's the problem. A good rushing team with a back that's fast and decisive, because they're not sound in their run fits. But what does that mean? A back has to see that incredibly fast, and it's not enough to see it. Now you have to explode through and make the play. We might see it, but none of our backs are going to go run a 4-3 through that hole. And so this is an easy way to make it clear of like, well, that's how you beat Texas A&M, but we don't do that well. But like I said, our run game's not really tied to opponents. It shows up sometimes, and it showed up last year versus A&M. We'll see. But that's a huge factor for a weakness of their defense. Can we exploit it, though?
Check out A&M's yards after contact.
Yep.
137. First of all, there's not 137 teams in the FBS.
Yeah, well, they're minus one.
Everything on your charts has just been thrown into
it's just made up.
But
yeah, that's got to be a typo.
Yards after contact allowed. For those of you who aren't stat nerds like me and Connor, if your lead running back is getting over 3 yards after contact, he's a good running back.
Yeah.
Okay. Like that's a good litmus test of like, is it a jag or a guy who adds to the run? They're giving up 4.22. So when they play people, the running backs that they're seeing in aggregate are Jeremiah Love. They literally played Jeremiah Love, but yeah. I mean, that's an incredible opportunity, and I don't think CJ Baxter is going to exploit it. So.
Correct. Pony yards per rush, 53rd, but look at their missed tackle rate. They're 91st. And then oddly, our missed tackle rate is not bad for Texas offense. It's 52nd. So like we can do the occasional juke, but if you touch us, we are going down, brother. Yeah, yep. We are going straight down. So look, if we just had like an average rushing game, it would make a win a lot more attainable. But like, as you can see, I mean, Texas just has an awful, awful run game. And then quick, we'll hit this and then we'll go to Gabe. Defensive line yards, they are 14th. They're a little bit weaker, slightly above average on 3rd and 4th and shorts. And then 26 and stuff rate doesn't matter. Texas offensive line is garbage there. So they actually hold 2 mismatches in these regards as well. So not ideal. But Paul, tell everyone who is ideal.
You know what? There are a few panaceas in this life. I'm a cost benefits guy. There's no cost benefits for using Gabe Winslow as your mortgage guy. You can reach him at 832-557-1095. It's just benefits. They ain't no cost, baby. And speaking of costs, if you've got a current interest rate on your house at 6.5% or higher, marry the house, date that rate. Time to break up with that side piece rate that you got. Keep that house. Let's go call Gabe and get a free refi. How can he refi me for free, you ask? Well, because he's a mortgage broker. He's got access to over 60 different lenders. And because he's a high originator, meaning he's one of the most high volume originators in the state of Texas, Gabe's got all sorts of crazy awards and all sorts of leader lists. He's always getting flown by some different brokerage to some award thing. And what they're able to do is give him the best possible rates. They want to take care of their best brokers because their best brokers are the people that work with them the best. What he's going to do is extend that to you rather than put it in his pocket to build that customer relationship. And that's why Gabe has guys right now that I know who are Texas fans, including my co-host, Randy Boone, who have literally done like 4 refis with this guy over the last few years. And they're going to keep doing them all through their lives and just attacking better rates anytime they can. That's what Gabe can do. Give him a call, 832-557-1095. And of course, if you're looking for a new house, this is the guy you want in your corner. This is the biggest financial decision you'll make in your life, buying a house. Get the best possible people in your corner. If you're just randomly Googling or going to Big Bank USA, you're doing it wrong. Go with the best. Go with the elite. Call Gabe.
You're the man, Gabe. You're my boy, Blue. All right. Let's look at defensive passing game here with these fellers. They are they're 8th in pass success rate. Once again, to the story of overwhelming teams. they do well there. But they're 93rd in passing explosivity. This is where Texas holds one of maybe our few mismatches.
Yep.
We're 10th in passing explosivity. We're top 10 in the country here. So here you go. If you want to look for an on-paper way to score points, it's right here. But we'll talk about that it's not as simple as that when we look at some of these sack rates. You're going to have to be able to hold up to get to these explosives, because right now, I think where are we at passing success rate? Down to down, we're 89th. They're 8th. So what this is telling you is that you're going to be in 3rd and longs, which means that they're going to have their pass rush available to them. I still don't know what the hell's going on with the offensive line. They've had a good couple games, but you'll see that these guys are number 1 in the country in QB sack rate. So even though we have this advantage, it's going to take a lot of work to get towards it. And that's just kind of the reality of it.
What if we start Nato Umeozulu?
There we go.
Will it solve everything?
It probably would at this point.
Okay. Well, you want to sandbag and save it to the best in last game when you really need it.
That's true. The fans earlier in the season, when you suck and they think you're just saving offense, it's like, no, you need to be able to run counter all year. It doesn't matter if.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ohio State is an example of a team that has been saving some stuff, but there's really, I can't think of any other team in the country where that's true. So,
yeah.
Did you see that Ohio State sat both Love and Tate last week?
I haven't paid attention to them at all.
But you shouldn't, because they're just sort of a machine. But they sat both of their starting receivers and were like, we'll just throw to Max Clare and beat Rutgers by 33 anyway. So everyone's like 100% for Michigan. If somehow Michigan wins this game again, I mean,
it's going to be hilarious.
He might get hit by a Molotov cocktail on the field by an Ohio State fan.
Yeah, for sure. And all I know is that Sands been let off the leash a little bit. That's all I hear. Opponent yards per pass, 27th. But like we said, QB sack rate, 1st in the country, 24th in pressure rate. So not like a crazy amount of pressure, but they are getting to the sacks, of course. Cassius Howell, we'll highlight him on our film studies coming out. So, man, you better hold up, because your way to a win is hitting them whenever they make mistakes in coverage or send too many on the pressure and open up man.
So the formula is Cassius Howell outside, firing like crazy. I think he's got 12 sacks on the season. He's having a comparable impact in their defense, almost comparable to Colin Simmons. Inside, Torian York. You guys remember him. Stubby linebacker, super quick. Think of an upgraded David Benda. That's kind of what he is. He's about 5'10", 220, 225. Their other starting linebacker, Damian Sanford, isn't very heavy either. That's part of the reason that sometimes you can glance off him on the second level and your running back keeps running. But York is really good at firing. He's got great instincts and a great feel for navigating short spaces and small little cracks. And he brings run blitzes really effectively. He's also a good pressurer as a blitzer on your quarterback. Doesn't usually get the sack, but he usually flushes them out to Cassius Howell. And so the other part that Elko layers on, this is part of the reason they're number 1 in the country on 3rd down rate, is safety blitzes. They love to bring their safeties on 3rd and long. They don't bring them from Hutto or from Waco. They run them up on the line of scrimmage and time it as you snap the ball. And where he's showing up, the gap that he seems to be threatening, he'll loop it in at the last second. So your O-line's like, okay, safety blitz, we were told to look for this. I got that guy. And then that guy shows up over the nose tackle 3 gaps away. So you've just got to hold up. The best thing Texas can do is zone protection. If we slide protect against A&M, you guys write this down, we will give up 7 sacks. I'm telling you, Elko dreams of slide protection because all of his stuff is built around it. We got to zone protect, good square shoulders, don't turn, don't chase. If we allow pressure, it needs to come late and outside if there's a free man. If there is, the rule for Arch Manning, and Ian and I sort of coined this early in the year, if there's one free guy, Arch Manning's got a chance.
Yeah.
If there's multiple free guys, he's going to get sacked. So let's give him the chance to have a chance.
I agree.
That was my motivational speech, Connor.
No, it was great. QB sack percentage versus 63rd. This is heavy lifting by Arch, but you see the pressure rate that's not including Arch. We're 115th in the country. O-line pass blocking efficiency, 120th. So you have good
Good
pass
heavens.
rushers versus a horrific pass blocking line. Have they played better the past couple weeks? Yes. But is this going to be a test? Yes.
I'm starting to have a sneaking suspicion 11 games in that our O-line is not played up to standard.
Yes. I would say that. I think it's safe by now after 11.
Do we have enough data now?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay.
I think we have as much data as we can have.
I pointed it out against Ohio State, and everyone pushed back with like yards per carry, and I was like, no,
My favorite one when we're like Trey Wisner and CJ Baxter don't add to runs. So I'm like, Caleb Downs, it's Caleb Downs. And it's like, okay, let's wait till San Jose State where they don't add anything.
The funny thing is the next week, Caleb Downs missed like 3 tackles against a scrub.
Yeah, I know.
Pretty funny.
Yeah. And it's eternal. No one will learn any lesson from that. We will have the same arguments preseason next year.
Connor, I've been doing this for a long time, and I have the same arguments every year.
Yeah, it's just like it's times a flat circle. All right, standard downs rate. So this is what A&M is doing well. They're second in the country. So they're constantly putting you in bad situations to where they can kill you on third downs. So they're doing well on first and second too. That's how they're doing it. And then
again, this is I'm so sorry to interrupt you. We keep seeing this weird contradiction in opponent stats between early downs EPA and standard down rate. Do we have an explanation for this yet? Or is the early downs EPA a reflection
my early downs EPA is pulled from a different source than my standard downs rate. So early downs EPA is something I added this year.
You want to hear my theory? EPA really penalizes you for giving up explosives. And then standard down rate is the majority of the time you're playing well. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And that's what so standard downs are just the situation in which you're in. Early downs is accounting for exactly chunk yardage. So that has to be the differential. But this number, standard down rate, matters more to me than early downs EPA.
Yeah. Look at A&M's red zone, do you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
No, I want to do it now.
So standard downs rate, they're second in the country. Texas is 89th. Our standard down success rate is 113th in the country. So this is saying, look, we're going to be in a ton of third and longs like usual, and that's going to unlock their pass rush. None of this is good. And then, we're like, well, Texas has the explosives. Well, guess what? They're second in passing down success rate. So when you do get into those third and longs, they're locking it down. So even if you do hit 5 explosives, say you hit 5 touchdowns passing, okay, and they put up 40, you still lose. So it's that thing too that's going to be a major factor. Something's going to have to figure out schematically or inspired play, something we haven't seen. Something's going to have to elevate.
Home crowd.
Home crowd.
Sold out DKR. No, I mean, I don't underestimate that at the college game, especially for a guy like Reed. If we can get to him early and make him really uncomfortable and describing like the incubator I was describing, pressure right, make him roll left, jump some of those routes in the middle of the field that he thinks are gimmies. I think there's an opportunity to get in his head. South Carolina got in his head for a half, that's for sure. But their nuts receded up into their body cavity in the second half.
Yeah, it was bad. All right, third down D, we talked about how good they are here. They're first in the country. Average third down D distance, they're first in the country. Texas is 119th in the country on average third down distance. We're constantly behind the sticks and way behind the sticks.
But this is just your opinion.
Yeah, this is just my opinion, man. Like we said, with 137, I'm just making these up, dude.
You did. 137 was.
Yeah, I'm just making these up. I've clearly.
You didn't think you were going to get called out on that, huh?
No, I didn't even notice it. How dare I be questioned?
That's right.
But here, look, red zone D for A&M is 135th.
Dang.
So Texas at 71st actually has the advantage. So, hey, Sark moves well between the 20s. Get there, theoretically, you can score. And then their second.
How we're going to score in the red zone? We're going to throw it in, or Archie's going to run it in.
Yeah, Arch has the best vision. He has better running vision than our running backs. It's insane.
The touchdown run against Arkansas, Arch's vision was actually exceptional.
Yeah, it's exciting and disappointing at the same time. We know what they're good at sacks. They're second in sacks per game. They're 121st in interceptions per game, though. And Arch doesn't throw a lot of them, above average there. So we shouldn't see a ton of picks. But if you're in constant third and longs or you get behind and now you start forcing, maybe that number goes up. You just have to be aware of that if you end up in a chase kind of situation like we saw versus Florida, right? Fumbles per game, they're pretty good, 23rd. They're third in tackles for loss. There's a lot of kind of OUE numbers here. And honestly, Sark has done pretty well. Everyone minus like a Georgia, and not Georgia this year, but in the past, generally does better against these kind of attacking but unsound defenses.
So we had tremendous success in College Station running outside zone.
Yeah.
Do you think we can duplicate that? Because I have noticed a tweak in the A&M defense in their standard sets to try to take that away. But do you think we could duplicate that?
They had, but it's also Missouri who's a rushing offense. But there was a couple times on outside zone they got out of their gaps and the back was able to cut back around, and that's what we were doing. So I keyed in on that. But once again, that's me noticing like 3 plays in a single game. So I don't know globally what that means.
Have you noticed how when they have their 4-2 front, their 2 inside linebackers are lining out further than they should? It seems like they're actually conceding like duo and inside zone a little bit in the middle of their defense, because I think Elko's pissed off about outside zone, and he knows that could score more likely than, say, in a duo run getting 9 yards, right? I don't know. It's just something I've noticed.
But I did notice it. Then my first key was, can we run outside zone? And versus Missouri,
just you're a numbers guy, and I'm like a sophisticated, football guy.
Well, I don't know what outside zone is. I just always I just say it and it sounds good.
It's a defensive
One day I'll learn what it means. Yeah, it's one of my favorite. Outside zone's one of my favorite blitzes for sure, dude. Tackling grade 84th. They don't tackle well, and they had a lot of good returning production. So this is overall global team stats. They're 126 in penalties per game. They're sloppy. Texas is 133rd though, so they still have the advantage. But and this was kind of similar to Arkansas. It was like 2 sloppy teams playing. So we'll see there. But what's interesting is their luck rating is first in the country. So the ball has bounced their way a lot. This trend can continue, but game to game, you don't know. If they have an unlucky game and they're used to the ball kind of bouncing their way. And look, when you go 11-0, and this is not to discredit them, luck plays a role too.
Yeah.
And every team that goes undefeated needs that. So I'm not taking anything away. But if you have a game where you aren't first in luck and you are getting a little bit nervous and you are turning the ball over, what does that feel like for a team that's, like we said, had a lot of sunny conditions?
Yeah, I luck is not sticky. It's not. Right. And it can go away as quickly as it comes. And I think Ryan Nelson says it well in the chat. Ohio State's 11-0 is different than the Aggies 11-0. I agree with you. That said, I'd go to Connor's original point. Look at the matchups on the field and then look at the individual unit matchups. I think that there are elements to the Texas A&M defense that are a mirage, an illusion.
Yep.
I kind of buy into the Aggie offense.
Same here.
I mean, they're like, it's just football 101, right, guys? Like, this isn't a genius analysis. Good O-line, really fast outside, quality running backs, quarterback operating well within the system, and a pretty good OC. Like, those are the components, and it's actually working on the field, right? So that's kind of what we're left with. But there are these weird weaknesses that A&M's defense is trying to disguise, and they do it with that third down superpower.
Yeah, I agree.
If we can solve that, like, we're going to drop 35 on them. Yeah. If we can't, it's going to look like a little bit of a slog.
Yeah. Turnover margin, they're 95th in the country. That's not good. Texas is 11th. Their net field position, really good, 3rd in the country. Texas, better by 1 point, 2nd in the country.
Hell yeah.
Team talent rating, Paul. This is all that matters.
I hate this.
They're 7th. They're 7th in team talent rating overall, according to On3. Texas is 1st. And then their special teams is 31st. Ours is 5th. Their strength of schedule is 28th. Ours is 17th.
What? They played an ACC schedule. We played the NFC North.
People are like, they have a weak schedule. It's like, dude, a relatively weak SEC schedule is still always top 30 in the country. You know?
Not only that, the observation I made on Inside Texas is losing to Georgia by 25 helped our strength of schedule.
Right.
Does that mean what you think it means?
Right.
You have to look at these things within context. But, hey, the one thing on special teams for A&M, Concepcion is an awesome punt returner.
Mm-hmm.
So that is like their one thing that could affect this game. Obviously, we would think that we would have the special teams advantage. Randy Bond
Sucks.
has been very inconsistent.
Yeah, he's 61%. Their field goal kicking has been ugh.
So anytime they trot out their field goal kicker in the red zone, that's a big win for the Longhorns. Just like it was with Arkansas. What the hell was Bobby Petrino doing? But
yeah.
Just know that them kicking field goals is a good thing. And that's what we're going to go with.
Concepcion top 2 in yards per attempt and punt return.
Mm-hmm.
Bussey top 6 in kick return.
Yep.
Punter is 8th in yards per attempt in the SEC, and the kicker is the worst field goal percentage in the SEC.
It's very irritating to me that A&M is faster than we are on offense.
Yeah.
Like that's something we could have addressed or should have been addressing. That's just irritating. That said, we looked at some other tackling numbers. We looked at that second and third level tackling. This jibes with a good article that Ian Boyd wrote that's on Inside Texas right now about basically Ryan Wingo is going to be our run game. We're going to reduce the box and try to get Arch some breathing room by flipping it out to Wingo and then fake flipping it out to Wingo or nibble it, which if you guys watch the deep dive, I'm going to highlight some of those against Arkansas. It's going to be relevant for A&M because we kept having Arch fake that action and then go downfield on an over, right, on a crosser. And that's where we had some of our biggest plays to Livingstone and DeAndre Moore. We're going to see more of that in this game because A&M can be susceptible to that. Their two corners are big, they're physical, they're kind of grabby, and they will try to jump stuff. Will Lee, the blanket, will try to jump stuff, and we can turn that against him. And that's a real opportunity using Wingo especially. He's got to be tackle-breaking Wingo today. Friday. Not today, Friday.
Today, too.
Today as well. Do it
every
Friday.
day. All right, everyone. Thank you, guys. We had to get this in quick, but that's Texas A&M versus Texas. Going to be a fun matchup. Like we said, there's some ways that Texas has a path here, but they're going to have to play well, man. They're going to have to play inspired and disciplined to take advantage of lack of some discipline over on Texas A&M. All righty, guys. I want to see you over at Inside Texas. $1 for your first week. New members only. Come hang out. We would love to see you over there. And this was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors for Rivalry Week Takeover. Everyone have a great day. Goodbye.